Welcome to Suzuka International, host of the 7th round of the Alpha Touring Challenge. We have returned for what is the 4th time we have come to this track. And actually, this is one of the only tracks on the schedule that Michael Polasek has a previous win at, all the way back in Season 2. So the championship leader a little bit more familiar with this track compared to others on the ATC schedule. And we've had 5 different winners here in the past in the Alpha class and 2 in the Delta class. Suzuka slotted in the 7th spot in the schedule. Mid-Ohio next week, but for now we have a class invert by the current championship standings. So there is no qualifying session today, a 1-hour race with 2 pit stops, a lot of time for the nearly 30 drivers in this field to work their way through what is a massive invert on the grid. So championship leaders Polasek, McKinsey, Schink, Hendricks, they're all starting at the back of the Alpha class, but in the middle of the field, because then the Delta class is in the back half of the field. That puts Delta leader Jacob Wiley all the way back on the very end of this field. Now joining him are Brian Saab, Brian Son, Christian Ost, you have Kevin Clark, Fuada Rizler there, all these top Delta drivers sitting towards the back of the pack. Kirk Lane, Kyle Murray, these are the guys that are going to be looking to benefit from this invert as they start towards the front of this Delta field. You see Micah Hendricks starting just ahead of Schink, McKinsey, and Polasek looking for his 3rd career victory at this track in this series. Last time he won here, all the way back at the start of Season 2. Raymond 2 starting just behind Dan McFarland there. McFarland further up from the rest of the championship leaders, starting just behind Anthony Harrison, who he himself has to deal with Mark Darnell and Connor Acatella, who are starting much further up the field than usual, so they will get a chance to show their defensive prowess in this race. The grid is set. Daniel Smith and Augustin Fernandez are on the front row, and it's all to play for. Suzuka starts now. The drivers are set, and we are ready to go at Suzuka. We await the 5 red lights. They're revving up. And the Alpha Touring Challenge is a go here at Suzuka. Daniel Smith leads them off with Augustin Fernandez on the inside. Behind them, you see Mike D'Almeida fighting for one of those top 2 spots as they barrel down into turn 1 and then down to turn 2. You see Michael Polasek and Micah Hendricks going side by side there. 2 SRG drivers ahead of Raymond 2. Jason Lynn in a battle further back in the pack. It's Augustin Fernandez up in the lead. Mark Darnell cuts in front of Damon Mitchell. 2 and Lazan side by side with 2 more B40 drivers going side by side further on back. And now on the exit of the S's, you see Logan McKenzie and Micah Hendricks going wheel to wheel there. Further up, it's Raymond 2 on the outside of John Lazan, and then on the inside, Lazan has to yield, and now Carr on the offensive. Michael Polasek back there dueling with David Bauer. And now, once again, 2 and Lazan going wheel to wheel, 2 losing out as they enter the first of these 2 corners. And out of the second Degner they go. And James Carr going he's behind. It's Lazan who got ahead of 2. Behind Polasek, still battling with David Bauer, trying to make the outside work here. And he's going to be able to do it, but he's got a 2 wide situation in front of him. He slots ahead, and now James Carr is going to make the move on Raymond. And that promotes him up into P10. And just behind, 2 continues to drop. He's going wheel to wheel with David Bauer, and Francois Schenck is right there behind these guys. They almost touch. And it looks like they are going to continue going side by side as they come up to 130R. Who's going to blink? Who's going to back out? 2 has the maybe preferred inside line. Oh, they're going to touch. And now they're going to go 3 wide into the chicane. 2 backs out, and it is Francois Schenck going around the outside there. And that is close margins. Oh, and it's Mike D'Almeida sliding out the final corner. He and Anthony Harrison came together, and now they all come flying down the front straightaway. It's Augustin Fernandez and Daniel Smith way out in front. And there is a whole gaggle of cars heading down to turn 1, led by Damon Mitchell and Dan McFarland, the SRG drivers, making it out of that one fairly unscathed. But look at this mess. Oh no, Daniel Smith is parked up on the outside of turn 1. And here you see that is Francois Schenck working the outside of David Bauer. Bauer gets spun in this whole mess, and everyone has to dodge him. You see McKenzie go by, a couple others towards the back of the field go by. Oh, and now Fuado Ridgely has gone off, and everyone's losing their minds on this lap. Brian Saab right behind David Bauer as Bauer rejoins the track. Up ahead, Mitchell leading his teammate, Dan McFarland. And now that we are just over a lap in, you see Matthew Mayer making his first start in the Alpha Touring Challenge. Excuse me, I think no, this is his first start. He's running up the back of Kyle Murray right now. He started at the back of the Alpha field due to the field invert, but him not having any starts. So he's battling with some of these guys, getting to know them. But Kyle Murray and Christian Ost, 1 and 2 in the Delta class, and I see Ost's livery is not loaded today. We'll see if we can get that rectified. But he currently runs behind Micah Hendricks in the 16th overall position. He's gained 7 spots since the start of this race, so it's going well for Ost thus far. And back up front, you see Anthony Harrison. This is the battle for the 10th position. He's got Francois Schenck riding his rear bumper, and Schenck is carrying some front left damage. I'm sure he'll be looking to get that fixed in one of the 2 pit stops that we're going to have today. And up ahead, McFarland on his teammate Damon Mitchell into the chicane. It's done and dusted, and McFarland moves up into second place. but it's Augustin Fernandez in control of this one. He has opened up a 4.5-second gap between what happened to Daniel Smith and Mike D'Almeida on lap 2. He just got basically granted a huge gap. And now you see Logan McKenzie and Francois Schenck, a week after going wheel-to-wheel at Chicago, now battle for 11th into turn number 1. Behind them, Zepka and Hendricks also going wheel-to-wheel. Looks like Schenck's going to lose out here, and Zepka's going to lose out not only to Hendricks, but possibly to Raymond too. No, but now 2 is under pressure from the Delta leader, Christian Ost, and they are side by side through the S's. Ost has to back out into that next section. Looking forward now to the B4D drivers as John Lazan and James Carr running 5th and 6th. They're just behind Connor Acatella. After being inverted well up the field to start the race, he's fared better than his double yellow teammate, running behind Damon Mitchell, and now Mitchell with kind of a bad exit out of the second Degner, and will Acatella look for something into the hairpin. Mitchell defending on the inside, but Acatella actually comes under pressure from John Lazan, who goes for a great little move there, a little dive into the hairpin, gets around the double yellow driver. Further back, Kyle Murray still defending Matthew Mayer as Christian Ost kind of runs away from them a little bit, 1.2 seconds up the road. And Anthony Harrison is now defending against Logan McKenzie. These two don't end up close together too often. And the front nose of Anthony Harrison a bit pushed in, but this is the great thing about these field inverts. You get to see these guys fight where they don't typically see each other that often at other times in the championship. Down to 130R. And McKenzie is not going to be going for a move there. Schenck lurks behind, so he's surrounded by 2 damaged Hondas. And into the chicane. Harrison on that defensive line. Further up ahead, Acatella's under a lot of pressure from not only James Carr, but also Michael Polasek out of the chicane. Down to the start-finish line, the 45 on the inside. I think Acatella is going to have to yield this one. And yes, he does. McKenzie's on the inside of Harrison, just behind them. And into turn number 1, Harrison's going to try and hold this outside line in that Honda. He's done so quite well, and actually he's maybe going to be able to keep a nose in. No, McKenzie closes him off at the last second. Schenck is not able to get around Harrison and follow him through. David Bauer working his way back through the field, cutting through the Delta class now, going around the outside on Kevin Clark into the first S. He gets the job done. Kirk Lane is next on the list. Anthony Harrison now having to defend against Francois Schenck, going on board with Micah Hendricks behind them as they come into the first Degner. Side by side, the 502 on the inside. Oh, there's a little touch, and Francois is going to keep it just together. It's going to let Hendricks up the inside of one, maybe both of them. Yes, and I cannot believe that Schenck saved that. A little bit of contact between Harrison and Hendricks. Hendricks goes deep around the outside, trying to get a good run off the corner here. Harrison's going to give him the space as they round the corner, coming up to Spoon. And our blimps behind the trees can't see anything there, but Hendricks is going to clear him before they even get to Spoon. And he is ahead. And speaking of ahead, John Lazan, excuse me. I keep getting the 2 B4D drivers mixed up, but it's Lazan making a move on Damon Mitchell, and he is now set to go hunt down Dan McFarland, who's been cruising up there about 1.5 to 2 seconds ahead of his teammate. Augustin Fernandez, his lead hasn't changed too much. It's gone from about 4 seconds to 4.5, and now Polasek may be trying to make a move. Oh no, Mitchell straight into the wall in the chicane, and I think that was Polasek making an impact on the right quarter panel. Mitchell was side by side with, I believe it was James Carr into the chicane, so trying to preserve it while Polasek is trying to follow him through, and now Mitchell cannot get to pit lane from where he's positioned, so he is now in big trouble. And now Mark Darnell putting up a defense against Logan McKenzie, and McKenzie's going to go around the outside into turn 1 and gets around the Sia driver. So that's the biggest thing that's happened the last few laps there. Mitchell pitched into the wall. That might mean Polasek carrying a slight penalty now. Oh, Schink slides out really wide. He's not been able to get around Anthony Harrison. He might be getting a little bit frustrated at this point. On board with the Sia driver. 10 minutes into this race, probably have another 10 minutes to 15 minutes before we start seeing scheduled pit stops. Kevin Clark is on pit exit. You see Mitchell towed to pit lane. I see Brian Son is on pit road as well. But that may have been a scheduled pit stop for Clark. Trying to get out of the way of traffic, get into some clean air. We'll see if the strategy works. But I believe he was just within the pit window, so he shouldn't have to take another stop. And now, oh, something's happened in the hairpin. Ost and Zepka have come together, and Raymond too has gone around the outside of one or both of them. Yes, both of them. He's going to clear Ost on the run up to Spoon, and Zepka has lost out there. That's Matthew Mayer that's caught up to the tail end of this group. He got around Kyle Murray. And Christian Ost, the Delta leader, so dangerous moment for him, trying to win this race. Not what you want to see, cutting into the hairpin, seeing his nose pitched into the side of Zepka's Honda. Now down to 130R. He's going to look left on 2, and then tuck back in. Zepka's right there. They're all nose to tail. They come through the corner okay. Mike D'Almeida has just been... Oh, look at this. Matthew Mayer going for a move. Micah Hendricks has gone around Mike D'Almeida up ahead, presumably through the chicane as well. Oh, it's going to be a little bit of a bump. Mayer over the curbs. And Zepka, I think, is going to lose the position to the SRG driver. Down the front straightaway. Once again, our blimp not in the best positions today. And Shink's finally going to make the move on Harrison into turn number 1. And Mayer is going to get a lot of curb on corner entry. He's taking a very narrow line, but Zepka has gotten to his own problems, sliding way out onto the marbles, and he loses not only the position, but now he's going to lose out to Kyle Murray. Murray goes through. Now David Bauer's caught up to the back of these guys, and his teammate Jacob Wiley is also there on the tail of Zepka, and Zepka's put a nose in on Murray through the S's. He's trying to keep it there. And on exit, coming up to the first Stegner, will he look for a move? He's got the momentum. Oh, but he backs out of it, thinks better of it. And I think Wiley was not incredibly happy with how hard Zepka got on the brakes, and a little slide through there, but everything's all right now. And our current Alpha leader, Agustin Fernandez, 6.2 seconds up the road, 13 minutes into this race, so we still have 47 minutes left in this contest. It's a lot of time, but for now, Fernandez looks poised to take his first career Alpha Touring Challenge victory, assuming the likes of Polasek and McKinsey, maybe guys that can outpace Fernandez stay buried in the pack. But he's pulling away from McFarlane, and McFarlane is usually close to those guys' pace, so it's a good drive for him thus far, and he's only extended this gap. Looks like Murray has finally gotten passed by Zepka once again, and now he's going to be under pressure from Bauer as they head to 130R. And the 35 is going to be on that outside line. Oh, and a deeper on the brakes. Murray keeping it clean there, and they've done well to go through there safely. And it gives a lot of momentum to Jacob Murray. I think, oh, Jacob Wiley, they're 3 wide. They're 3 wide, and I can't speak. And Murray's on the inside, and Wiley finally goes around him. And Kirk Lane, for a moment there, was involved, but found himself on the outside of a 3 wide situation. And yeah, Murray was slow out of 130R because he wanted to stay out. He wanted to stay out of the left quarter panel of David Bauer, but he lost a little momentum. Murray tried to go around the outside, or excuse me, Murray was on the outside, Wiley on the inside, and he makes contact with the rear right quarter panel. Somehow none of them crash, and I don't even see damage on either of their cars after that. Maybe next time we come back to them, I won't be switching their last names as much. Mike D'Almeida, look at this, right on his back bumper. That is Francois Schink still carrying that left front damage. 1/4 of the way through this race. Schink's made his way back up to 11th, but trailing slightly behind championship rivals Logan McKenzie and Michael Polasek, who are in 7th and 5th respectively at this point. Oh, and Schink right up on his bumper. And Hendricks is just ahead of this group, currently working on former teammate Mark Darnell. Micah Hendricks now a driver for Croc Hunters, and Darnell still with the Sia outfit. Both of them running in the Alpha class now, 8th and 9th respectively. Hendricks has done a good job to climb this field. A bit more of a level playing field for him this week. He's had some unfortunate issues with qualifying so far this season. Almeida has Schink on his left side in the 130R, but doesn't look like he has the momentum to stay there. But Hendricks has not had the best of luck in qualifying so far this year, so this race has put him on a more level playing field with everyone else. They all started from the back. He's gotten used to driving in this midfield. Schink trying to go around the outside of Almeida, and he's got it. Oh, and now that was close. Did Harrison just take bumper damage there? Look at this, Raymond 2's trying to force his way in. On the left side of Mike de Almeida, down the front straightaway. They were 3 wide for maybe a moment, but 2 has the momentum to go through on both of them. And yes, he does. And now on the outside of the Almeida is Anthony Harrison. For some reason, I'm seeing... Oh, no! Mike de Almeida gets spun! Hard to see what happened there. Couldn't tell if he turned down into Harrison or if... That was Harrison, right? That was Harrison. Harrison just towed that quickly. But Harrison was not showing up on the timing boards before that. I'm not sure why, but he has towed now. So we'll cut back. Christian O still your Delta leader. He has a pretty sizable lead at this point after everything that's happened. He kind of got away from some of the mess that happened after that incident in the hairpin. But he might be carrying a small penalty from it. 5 seconds. So Jacob Wiley needs to get within 5 seconds of Ost, and he can pick up the victory. Kyle Murray trails him by 2.5 seconds now, and Kirk Lane is not that far off either. Augustin Fernandez has just passed the lap car of Jason Lynn, and Kevin Clark is on pit lane again, and he's been sitting there for quite some time, so maybe serving a penalty, but his scheduled pit stops haven't blown up. Mark Darnell still putting on a defensive clinic over defending 2-time champion, Micah Hendricks. Hendricks has been stuck behind his former teammate for quite some time. And we'll roll into 130R. Hendricks got a good run there. He's going to look for something into the chicane. So Darnell will take the inside defensive line. Oh, and Hendricks is going to go around him there. Darnell very careful through the corner, and that brings teammate Francois Schink up to his rear bumper. McFarlane has now been caught by John Lazan. Lazan was about 1 to 2 seconds off of him. Michael Polasek has pitted, maybe to fix some damage he picked up when he sort of pitched David Mitchell into the wall earlier. He's pitted a bit early. Oh, did he just... What's going on there? What was that? He reversed. Oh, was he sitting in reverse gear? He may have been sitting in reverse gear, and we just saw him going, uh-oh, I need to shift into first, but it's possible. I'm not sure what else would explain what we just saw, but that's going to cost him some time on top of having to pit early, though he's come out into clean air, so not having to worry about traffic. Nick Beta is also on pit lane. This, so far, looks like a scheduled stop, and it is. Spent about the same amount of time in his stall as Michael Polasek. David Bowers now has cleared his teammate, Jacob Wiley. And next on his list is Matt Zepka, but Zepka is now 3 seconds up the road, and he's trying to work on first-timer Matthew Mayer, and Mayer has not given it up. Both of them are slowly creeping towards Delta leader Christian O, so you can see flashing Raymond 2 further up ahead. Schink went around his teammate, and actually Schink going around Micah Hendricks. He had a lot of momentum there. Not sure if Hendricks screwed up the hairpin or had to let him by for some reason. But there you go. Schink now up into P7. These are the closest battles on track right now. Still waiting for most of the field to pit, including the leaders. Augustin Fernandez now nearly 7 seconds up on McFarlane. And no pit stop this time. We hit the 20-minute mark here at Suzuka. And McFarlane, Lazan, and Carr. Oh, Carr's going to pit. He pulls down pit lane. This is an early stop by maybe a lap or two. So this is a strategy call. We'll see if it pays off. Saw McKenzie going by on the outside there. He's slowly been catching up to their group. So Carr pitting early to just try and get the track position, I think. Zepka's on pit lane. Kirk Lane on pit lane. See Kyle Murray go by. Now we wait to see what the rest will do the next time they come around. The leader is coming out of the S's now, so it'll be a moment. So this is the larger group of cars we have here. Hendricks, Darnell, 2, Ost, and Mayer. Zepka dropped off the back of this group when he pulled into pit lane. So I expect most of this group to pit either this lap or the next lap. These are long laps, so you're not going to see a huge disparity, I think, in laps saved. It's a big ask to save more than, one extra lap of fuel here, I think, just due to the size of the circuit. We'll go on board with Darnell as he runs behind Micah Hendricks. And Hendricks trailing Schink by about a second now, so Schink with a slight pace advantage over the defending champion. At least over the last couple of laps. And okay, Lazan is still a half second off of McFarlane. McFarlane's cut a little bit into Fernandez's lead, maybe 0.2. But it's held pretty steady. And 0.2 is not much when it's over 6 seconds. 38 minutes left in this contest. I'm going to watch to see. Fernandez is coming down pit lane. So we'll see Lazan and McFarlane follow. Yes, they do. And now next up is McKenzie, and he passes pit lane entry, so he saved another lap. Acatella comes down pit lane. And as McKenzie goes by, we'll see Hendricks. Look at this group of cars come in. Schink, Hendricks, Darnell, 2, Ost, Mayer, Bauer, Wiley. Pit road is busy. Kyle Murray also coming down pit lane. Augustin Fernandez is away. We're watching Lazan and McFarlane, both of them away at the same time, so McFarlane will preserve that track position. Here comes James Carr on track. He is going to end up ahead of both of them. The undercut has worked for Carr. It's worked quite well. And that's huge. And that may spell trouble for McKenzie, because McKenzie is going even longer than these guys. But Carr could have also just been held up by that group. And now he's really pushing. Mayer gets passed on pit road by David Bauer and Matt Zepka. Jacob Wiley also almost gets by him, so he's going to have to pick up the pieces from that pit stop a little bit. Mayer spent 42 seconds on pit lane. That is about 4 seconds more than the average. His pit stop didn't take any longer, so he may have missed his pit stall, may have been slow getting out of his pit stall, but he loses the time. Now, this is a battle for 21st here. Mike D'Almeida, Nick Beta. You see Brian Sawn in between these guys, but he's a lap down. Nick Beta now into the top 20. We haven't talked about him much yet today, but
He pitted earlier in the race, back on lap 8, so he's on a slightly different strategy than some of these guys. Christian Ost, under pressure from Matt Zepka, around the outside, a little nudge. We mentioned the penalty that Ost was carrying. 5 seconds. Ost currently only has a 2.5 second lead, 2.5 to 3 second lead over Jacob Wiley. It's 3.5 seconds according to my timing software right now. So we'll keep an eye on that. McKenzie did not save another lap, so he comes down pit road. And I think this is where things will get interesting because we're going to see how much McKenzie actually gained on that group of Carr, Lazan. Fernandez comes around to reclaim the lead. So we will look at James Carr coming down the front straightaway now. McKenzie's teammate Michael Polasek trails this group. He's carrying a 10-second penalty. He may have gained on them a little, but he's still behind all of them. So Carr is officially into P2, and that is a fantastic undercut that he's pulled off. When he pitted, he had the fastest pit stop of anybody. Let's also take that into account. His pit stop was on average about 2 seconds shorter. He had the shortest pit lane time of anybody on that first stop. Did he put less fuel in the car? Yes, because he pitted a lap or two earlier. He's going to pay for it on the second stop when he has to put more fuel in to make it to the end. He'll have to stop earlier than everyone else, put more fuel in than everyone else, and it will be about 2 seconds worth of fuel. So he needs to open up a gap. He needs to hope he's got the pace now that he has the track position to pay off the pit stop gamble. But so far, the undercut has worked for him. Raymond 2 is sandwiched in between the two SIA drivers, Mark Darnell and Matt Zepka. Zepka's looking for a lane on the yellow flag motorsport driver. Through the second Degner. Closing in on the halfway point of this race, and it feels like Raymond 2 and Matt Zepka have been close to each other most of this race. Kyle Murray is getting passed by Kirk Lane, it looks like, and into the hairpin. Lane stays ahead and is on that Delta podium, but Kyle Murray trying to come back at him. And into Spoon. He trails the Bear Pope machine. Let's see if he goes for a move here. He has momentum. He's looking to the left side, but he gets outbraked by Lane. And through Spoon, it's going to be the Bear Pope driver on the Delta podium for the moment. And look at this, Raymond 2 on the inside of Matt Zepka into 130R. He pulls it off and into the hairpin, stays ahead. And once again, Christian Ost has caught up to the back of these guys. And this actually is bad news for him because that is going to back him up into Jacob Wiley. You see there, Ost's car, and now Jacob Wiley is right there. He's at the tail end of this group essentially now. And this is a long group. We look at the straightaway here. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 cars. Essentially nose to tail. Led by Mark Darnell, who has done a great job defending his position all day. Feels like he's had someone on his back bumper the entire 30 minutes of this race, and he's stayed ahead through it all. He had a solid pit stop. I don't think he lost any positions on pit road. These guys are stacking up, and 2 may have gotten to the back of him there, and Zepka stacks up into the back of him as a result. There go Kirk Lane and Kyle Murray. They're not too far off this group as they come out of the S's. We're going to cut back and just check in on our Alpha leader. That is Agustin Fernandez. Almost 30 minutes into this race, his lead has not changed, and I don't think anyone is close enough. At this point, with 30 minutes to go, you're talking 14, 15 more laps. We'll cut back real quick here because we see David Bauer trying to go around the outside of Christian Ost into the hairpin, but it didn't work. But Fernandez, in order to lose the lead, someone would have to start going faster than him at a rate of 3 to 4 tenths a lap? That's a lot of math for me to do while we're watching David Bauer try and get around Christian Ost onto the curb, doing everything he can. And he will not have the run down to 130R. And that group continues to stay tight. McFarlane continues to stay in second. Oh, and now we have a pitter. It's James Carr. This is unscheduled, I think. Pitting now would not get him to the end of the race, so he's serving some kind of penalty. And that is the end of James Carr's contention for the podium. That's the end of his undercut strategy. It's unfortunate. We'll just keep an eye on where he comes out. See Ost defending the inside of the track here from David Bauer. Bauer waiting to the last second to pick a side. He goes left, but he can't get alongside. Almost goes wide there. Someone got into a little slide up front. Was that Darnell? I'm not sure. Everyone's stacked up now, and Zepka's going to go through on Raymond 2, or is he? They get a little touchy, and Zepka goes out onto the grass, and once again, they are back the way they were, and now they've all stacked up. Oh, Ost is going to have to slow down, and Bauer's going to have to slow down, and Mayer's right there. But through the S's, they can't really do anything. Now it feels like they're kind of back to square one. One person attempts a pass, and everyone else has to check up. Trying to keep an eye on the front, because Lazan seems like... well, actually, what's probably happening here with a second pit stop coming, Lazan's trying to save off of McFarlane. They're not racing for the lead. They're racing for P2. I mean, McFarlane continues to lose time to Fernandez. Fernandez has led, I believe he has led every lap of this affair. Yes, he was in the lead into the S's on turn 1. Now 7.1 second gap. And further back in the field, we'll look at Matthew Mayer. We'll go on board with him. He and Jacob Wiley have actually... What did happen to Mayer? Because he was right on the back of David Bauer. Now he has made a mistake of some kind. He was nearly 2 seconds slower in Sector 3. So something happened on this lap that's put him back behind Jacob Wiley, and that's not bad news for Wiley because that's one less car in between him and the leader, Christian Ost. Ost is effectively P2 in the Delta class right now if he has that 5-second penalty. Raymond 2 still can't do anything to Mark Darnell through the chicane. This has all allowed Micah Hendricks to get quite far ahead of that group. Hendricks and Schink. And now Bauer's coming down pit lane. And this is also a penalty. This is a drive-through. He's not stopping. So 2 B4D drivers undone by unscheduled pit stops, penalties. We still have Jacob Wiley and John Lazan out there, though. And now I think Darnell's finally made an error in the S's. Zepka and Ost are through. And actually, they're through on Raymond 2 as well. I wonder if they may have come together. Or both of them make a mistake. But now Zepka is freed, and this is good news for Ost, because now he has a couple of cars in between him and Jacob Wiley, and he needs to extend that. And I just want to get a verification that he does, in fact, carry a 5-second penalty. And it looks like he does. So, yes, Wiley just has to stay within 5. So now the question is, if you are Jacob, how much do you fight these cars as he tries to kind of work around Mayer? How much time you risk losing versus trusting the car ahead of you is gonna climb up there? Does he think Mayer's fast enough to close up on Ost and Zepka? Because now Ost is kind of free to go the pace he wants. Whether he is faster than Zepka or not, they are both faster than Darnell, I think, and will slowly start to pull. Lazan still fuel saving behind McFarlane. Polasek is just now creeping up to the back of this group, so he hasn't been able to get a whole lot of fuel saving done, in addition to carrying the 10-second penalty that he's got. Yes, he does have a 10-second penalty. So that's something to think about as well. Polasek may not really be in contention for a podium here. But as much time as he can put on the cars behind, that is money for him. And all while this is happening, Logan McKenzie has slowly been catching this group as well, though not nearly at the pace Polasek has. He's still about 4 seconds off of McFarlane and Lazan. Two still not able to get around Darnell. Mayer is back there, keeping Welly behind him. Kirk Lane, he has opened up about a second gap between him and Kyle Murray since passing him for that final Delta podium position. And Damon Mitchell now coming down pit road. I'm not sure if that stop will get him to the end of the race. It'll be very close. McFarlane under a little bit of pressure now. Polasek has closed up to the back of this group. I wonder what's Polasek thinking. Does he make these guys start fighting? Whoa, here we go. On the outside, Lazan was trying something, and Polasek looked to the inside, and now Polasek's going to slot ahead of the 77. Now McFarlane looks back. He will see the 45, the Yellow Flag Motorsport Machine. He has a teammate creeping up here soon as well. I don't think Lazan or McFarlane want that to happen, because then they'd be a bit outnumbered. Lazan has unfortunately lost both his teammates through various happenings in this race, both his Alpha teammates, that is. But he still has a chance. McFarlane still has a chance. Polasek and McKenzie, all of them in contention for this podium. But it's Fernandez rolling into turn number 1. He only has 24 minutes left before he gets to see the checkered flag for the first time in this series. And there's really nothing stopping him at this point. It's his race to lose. He's not even going to have to deal with that much traffic. He's got Fuada Rizla up ahead. And then after that, it's a long time, 30 seconds up the road before he meets Damon Mitchell, who has pitted anyway. So Fernandez really is not going to have any traffic for the rest of this race, I think. It's just going to be smooth sailing. We'll look back at Raymond 2's, still on the back of Mark Darnell. Coming out turn number 2. And looking for something, but can't find it. We're just kind of eagerly waiting this second round of pit stops. I'm interested to see how much Lazan and maybe McFarlane have fuel saved. McKenzie, who fuel saved an extra lap last time, he'll have that banked. That'll help him this time, but important to realize that he's probably also not been able to fuel save on this stint, being out in open air, just trying to hunt these guys down, and he has closed up a bit. It's about 3. Oh no! The leader stopped on track! Fernandez has lost the lead and he's parked! Oh, and I hope, does he tow? I think he's towed. He's gone to the garage. What's happened? Dan McFarlane has inherited the lead. This is suddenly a fight for the lead. With 22 minutes to go, Augustin Fernandez has stopped on track due to some kind of mechanical issue. And he's going again. I don't think he towed, actually, based on his position on track. So a mechanical issue, he has to come to a complete stop, and he rejoins the race in P13. Has got to be a difficult pill to swallow. I really don't know what to say. He had an 8-second lead, and now he sits 26 seconds off of new race leader Dan McFarlane. But now, for McFarlane, for Lazan, this becomes a chance. McFarlane leads Polasek. Polasek carrying the 10-second penalty. So what he can do is try and consolidate a decent top 5 position. Matthew Mayer is on pit lane. So he goes for an early stop in this cycle. We'll see how that plays out. But Lazan and McFarlane both looking for a win here, and they both, I think, have the best chance to do it at this point. The last time that McFarlane won a race, that would have been all the way back. Was it season 10? Let's see, McFarlane's last career victory was... Was it his first at Barber? Has McFarlane actually not won a race since Barber Motorsport Park? That was all the way back in season 9. That was race 7 of season 9. And in fact, if we look at McFarlane, he has 1 career win. Oh, and Polasek gets a little loose there. I'm not sure. Maybe a little contact from Lazan. So McFarlane has 1 career win. He has not picked up a victory in almost 2 full seasons since then. He's come close. He's come close a couple times. And that little slide doesn't do too much to deter these guys. Though Lazan he's trying to unsettle Polasek. He's trying to get him out of that position because he's blocking him from getting to McFarlane. These guys may or may not even know that Polasek is carrying a penalty. So that could also change how they race him. They really don't want to let him by. When it comes to John Lazan, his last career victory was a bit more recent. He picked up a win in the second race at Okayama last season. It was season 10, round 6. And Michael Polasek has gone ahead and had to pit early because he had to pit early to fix the damage last time. So this time he just has to pit early because he didn't have nearly as much fuel in the car as the others. And Lazan's most recent win before the win at Okayama was round 3 of season 9. That was at Brands Hatch. That was the second race of that round. McFarlane out on track. Lazan cleared of his blocker. McKenzie is only 2 seconds off these guys now. So he's gained quite a bit in the last few laps. McFarlane did a 14 dead on the last lap. McKenzie a 13... McKenzie's best of 13.6. But his last lap... His last lap was a full second faster. So he's picked up the pace. But these guys have also lost some pace. Augustin Fernandez. Oh, look at this. Fernandez right on the back of Raymond, too. And pushing him aside as they come up to the first Degner. Pushing him up through, more like. As Fernandez backs off of him. And Wiley's closed up on the back of these two. And now we see the impact of those guys kind of getting cleared of Mark Darnell earlier. They've all cleared him now. And actually, that's who Michael Polasek has ended up behind is Darnell, so he may lose a bit more time there. But Jacob Wiley is now 5.5 seconds off of Christian Oost. That was less than 3 seconds not too long ago, so he's been caught up by some traffic, and now he's in danger of losing that victory. Oost doing everything he needs to. He's keeping up with Matt Zepka. He's doing similar lap times, and it's looking good for him. 17 minutes to go. It's a slim margin, though. He's got to keep it up. McFarlane and Lazan on pit road now, and now it's hammer time for Logan McKenzie. What can he do with this banked lap? When they pulled onto pit road, the gap was just under 2 seconds. Connor Acatella has also saved a lap on this stint, and Micah Hendricks. So McFarlane and Lazan really using up the fuel here. Zepka and Oost also on pit road. Augustin Fernandez is going to come down as well. 2 and Wiley stay out. Darnell and Polasek stay out. Polasek's already pitted. You see David Bauer stays out, but Kirk Lane and Kyle Murray come down pit road. McFarlane came out... McFarlane came out way ahead of John Lazan. Lazan spent 2.5 more seconds in his pit stall and 3.5 more seconds on pit lane overall. That may put him out of contention of the win. This has been a huge win for Dan McFarland, who now has Michael Polasek once again between him and John Lazan. And Lazan is actually almost 4 full seconds behind him at this point after the pit stop. So now we look to McKenzie. Where is McKenzie? He's coming into Spoon. So does he come out ahead? Does he come out behind? How's this going to look for the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver? McFarland is 26 seconds back right now. Pit stops usually take between 28 to 30 seconds, or at least it costs you about 28 to 30 seconds. This is going to be close. McKenzie, he skips pit road again. Never mind. Okay, so he stays. The gap is still at about 25.9 seconds. We'll see if he can increase that at all on this lap. I don't think if he had pitted on that lap, he would have cleared McFarland, but he'll get another shot at it. One more lap. I don't know how he saved all that. Lazan on the inside of Darnell. And he makes the pass for P8. And Jacob Wiley goes into pit lane alongside Raymond 2 and Connor Acatella. Micah Hendricks has also saved the extra lap. So he's done a great job on this stint. Gaining spots. Saving fuel. David Bowers on pit lane. Connor Acatella comes off. Here comes Mark Darnell into his stall. And there's Bauer. And Jacob Wiley gets away. He may get past Raymond 2 here. It's going to be close. Oh, he's got him. Off of pit lane. 2 had a 1.5 second longer stop. And that has cost him a position to Jacob Wiley. And that is huge for the B4D driver. Augustin Fernandez is still behind the two of them. Acatella has come out just ahead of Francois Schink. Almeida and Daniel Smith are down pit lane. Almeida coming off now. And McKenzie once again going through Spoon. I can't imagine he or Hendricks have saved another lap. I think we just watched Smith serve a drive-through, actually. Did we see him pull into a pit stall there? I don't think we did. He comes out ahead of Damon Mitchell. So back to McKenzie. This is his attempt to vault himself into contention for the lead here. Got it taken away from him in the closing minutes at Chicago Street. Francois Schink just had the edge on him that day. Looking for redemption here at Suzuka. About to pull into pit lane. The Yellow Flag Motorsport driver. This is critical. Not only for him, but for McFarland. McFarland will go on board with him as he comes through 130R. He knows that these are critical moments. Hits his braking point just before the 100 board. Cut the curb. Get as much of this one as you can. Roll out onto the curbs. He didn't take all of the exit, but he took enough of it. Hendricks came down pit lane as well. And now the wide shot. McFarland on the right, McKenzie on the left. It's going to be close, but I think McFarland's going to get him into turn number 1. The SRG driver is into the lead, but it's not a large lead. McKenzie lurks 0.7 of a second behind, and he's got his teammate Polasek backing him up. McFarland leads the race with just over 11 minutes to go. And checking back in on the Delta lead, Christian Ost currently has a 4.6 second gap over Jacob Wiley. So this is close. This isn't over. Wiley does not have any traffic in front of him, but neither does Ost. So this may come down to a pure pace difference unless one of them gets mired in battles with an Alpha driver, which Matthew Mayer runs behind Ost. And Raymond 2 runs behind Jacob Wiley along with Augustin Fernandez. Matthew Zepka could also attack Ost as he lost out to Ost over the pit cycle. So This could be interesting to see who gets caught up in battles. McKenzie's already closed this gap. It's now 4/10. On board with him as they run up to Spoon. Just over 10 minutes to go in this race at Suzuka. The first ever invert by the class in series history. And it has provided quite an entertaining race. I thought, 20 minutes ago that at this moment we would be witnessing Fernandez cruise to victory. We'd be seeing McKenzie and McFarlane fighting for scraps here, but this has become a slightly more important battle. He's close enough to attempt something. 10 minutes to go at Suzuka. It's going to be SRG versus Yellow Flag Motorsport. Polasek lurks behind these guys, and McKenzie's right on his bumper, and this is going to be a pass attempt into turn number 1. McFarlane on the outside, McKenzie on the inside. Who's going to blink? Who's going to get out-braked? McKenzie pins him, goes out, brakes a little later. He's really far out there. McFarlane's really shallow. McKenzie ahead for a moment, but as they come up out of turn 2, McFarlane has the advantage. Into the S's now. McKenzie a nose ahead. McFarlane trying to get back ahead into the next corner. The 04 trying to do everything it can to stay ahead. Oh, a little impact, and McFarlane's going to stay up into P number 1. Out of the S's, he has put on a defense, at least for the moment. 9 minutes to go. That was close. That was marginal. Both of them did everything they had to do, but eventually McFarlane stayed ahead alongside just long enough that the track finally began to favor him, and he got ahead of McKenzie. That was what it came down to, really. They were both so evenly matched. It just came down to McFarlane getting that long sweeper at the end of the S's. And he was on the inside line, and that was enough with the contact to keep McKenzie back there. And now he's got to do everything he can to keep McKenzie back there. There are about 4 or 5 laps to go here at Suzuka. We'll look at the overall gaps. Checking in on Christian Oost. He still has what he needs to win this race, although he's now battling Matthew Mayer. Jacob Wiley is 5.2 seconds off of him, and he's about to have to deal with both the 12 and the 490. Mayer puts a nose in, but backs out of it. Now rolling out of Spoon onto the back straightaway. And Oost, if you're Oost, I wonder if Oost is thinking whether or not he has that penalty, if he's even cognizant in his mind, the gap to Wiley. But whether it is or not, it is a close race. Fernandez has gone around Jacob Wiley, so he lost a little bit of time in that transaction, but that happened earlier. And he is now 5.1 seconds off of Oost, so this is very close. McFarlane kept McKenzie back on that lap. Out of the chicane, McKenzie wasn't close enough to attack, so this stays, for now, advantage McFarlane. And just to sort of hammer home how long it has been since McFarlane's last win, that was that first win was at Barber, and that was all the way back in season 9, round 7. That was 31 races ago. So a 31 race winless streak. That is what is at stake here for McFarlane to break. Right now he's got a good advantage. He's opened the lead a little bit. 0.6 of a second back to McKenzie. McKenzie has suddenly lost whatever he had that was getting him close to McFarlane. McFarlane stopped making mistakes. Cutting back. Oh, look at this. Schink and Hendricks. Schink has closed up to Hendricks. And this is a battle for the top 5. going side by side into Spoon. Shink's gonna take it. And this is important because Polisek's carrying that 10-second penalty. And right now, Polasek is 11.8 seconds ahead of Shink and Hendricks. So right now, Polasek is sitting in P5, which would not be a bad result for him after everything that's happened. Ost is clear of traffic. He's opened up a bit of a gap on Mayer and Zepka. But Wiley is now within that 5-second gap. And it is not getting larger because Wiley doesn't have traffic really in front of him. As long as Fernandez doesn't make any mistakes, as Fernandez does go very wide there, as long as Fernandez doesn't make any mistakes, I think Wiley's going to have a lot of room up ahead to drive. And this is the commentator's curse, I guess, because now we've watched Fernandez miss 2 corners. And here we go. I think he slowed Wiley down a bit here. Wiley lost 2 or 3 tenths to Ost through that sector. But you just can't fight him. Do you go for a move? No, because you're going to lose even more time on Ost. He's just got to hope that Fernandez starts putting it together and pulls away a bit more. McKenzie closed the gap on McFarlane a little bit. Oh, he's going to go wide in the second Degner, though. And that is an off track, and he loses 3 tenths to McFarlane there. Now Polasek looking up the inside. McKenzie's going to defend it. And now it is an 8 tenths of a second gap. And Polasek looking around the outside. I don't think he's going to have the momentum. Oh, McKenzie is putting on the brakes. He's letting his teammate through, and look at this. This is some sly work. He's going to send Polasek up there to attack McFarlane. If I can't do it, let's try the 45. And Hendricks has slipped backwards a bit, and Connor Acatella has caught these guys. Acatella showing some good pace here at the end of this one. And Hendricks was a second slower than him on that last lap, so a little bit of help closing up to the back of him. But now he's got a shot at passing him into 130R. This is where you build momentum for an attack into the chicane, but Hendricks has the better run than him out of there, so nothing happening there. But Acatella's running P7 overall right now, which I believe the last time he had a finish that high would have been his first career victory at Zandvoort. I'm not sure he's finished higher than 7 since then. There's Nick Beta, parked there, pit exit. I think he may have just been letting the leaders through. Looking back to Michael Polasek, he's closed this up a little bit, but even Polasek is kind of struggling here. McFarlane is really putting on the pace. And next time around, lap 27, we're going to get the white flag. So Polasek may not even get a chance at him here if he does not pick up the pace. And speaking of white flags, speaking of gaps, Christian Ost still ahead of Mayer. You see Wiley in the background there. It's a 5.7 second gap right now. So it has once again fluctuated in Ost's favor, but all it would take is a little send from Mayer, and suddenly that plan, that gap, falls apart. So Ost has got to keep the 12 behind him. Now the second Degner. We'll cut back to the leaders. They are rolling through Spoon right now, and McFarlane has Polasek right on his bumper. Look at this. Polasek could try something in the 130R. How much is he willing to put on the line for his teammate? With the 10-second penalty, he knows he can't win the race, but if he passes McFarlane, he may win his teammate the race. He makes it side by side in the 130R, but McFarlane copes beautifully. He hits the curb there on exit, gets a little wobbly. Polasek does everything he can to unsettle him, but McFarlane stays in front, and the 23 is in the lead to take the white flag here at Suzuka. 1 lap to go for Dan McFarlane and for Christian Ost. McFarlane has had to deal with everything today. James Carr, John Lazan, Michael Polasek, Logan McKenzie, they've all taken shots at him. They've all tried to out-strategize him, out-race him, outpace him, but it's just, none of it's working. Oh, Fernandez has gone off track. That is at the chicane. That was interesting. He was over on the right side of the track. And that allows Wiley and 2 to go through. Oh, Mayer. Oh, Ost is having to defend against Mayer. And this is huge because it's a 6-second gap to Wiley. Does he let Mayer through? It's side by side into the S's for the Delta leader. Tries to stay in front. Mayer goes for the over-under, but he has nowhere to take it. And that gap is now less than 5 seconds. Jacob Wiley suddenly closes up and is now effectively right on the cusp of being in the Delta lead. And Mayer's right on the back bumper of Christian Ost. Back to the Alpha lead, out of the hairpin. Polasek has nothing on him. It's a 2.5 second gap, or 2.5 tenth gap, excuse me. We'll try and jump back to Ost as soon as we can. But for Dan McFarlane, coming into Spoon, what can he do? Oh, Polasek puts a nose up the inside, but he can't do anything with it. McFarlane defends beautifully by not even defending. He lets Polasek squander any momentum he has, and out of Spoon, all he has to do is take 2 more corners. Christian Ost has a 4.75 second gap over Jacob Wiley, so for now, it's Wiley's who is in the lead. McFarlane through 130R. Into the chicane. Polasek has nothing. McKenzie has nothing. Dan McFarlane, after over 30 races since his first career victory, comes off the final corner, and it's checkered flag for McFarlane, for SRG. He wins at Suzuka, and that's a celebration right there. He can't contain himself. He has to start celebrating immediately. And now back to Christian Ost. He has a 5.1 second gap, or excuse me, a 5.7 second gap over Wiley. I think he's going to do it. He's got to come through the chicane. We've got to confirm the timings. He goes a little wide. He goes a little wide in the final chicane, and he's not going to lose the position, but we'll watch the timings. Wiley gains some time on him. Out into the checkered flag. It's a 5.1 second gap. And Wiley crosses the line. And my timings show that it is a 5.058 gap. So tentatively, we're calling Christian Ost the Delta winner of this race. We're going to get a hold of some official results and look at some official gaps. So Christian Ost, 31.604 seconds off the lead. Jacob Wiley, 36.657. Christian Ost has done it. He has won at Suzuka by the thinnest of margins. And who knows if he even knew he was racing for it. I'm sure Mayer and Zepka didn't. So for Ost, that is a Delta victory. For McFarlane, it's an Alpha victory. Getting congratulations there from McKenzie, and nothing but celebrations for the SRG driver. He gets to bring that one back home to victory lane, and as he should, as he deserves to. That was an amazing race from the 23. There were so many times it could have gone wrong for him, but he managed to stay in the lead throughout all of it, and he picks up career victory number 2. This time it is at Suzuka International. We will be back shortly to provide you with the full results from today's race.